What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a little bit of a look at the top 10 most exciting Transformers card from the upcoming Titan Masters Attack expansion. I think it's maybe slightly premature to try doing an actual top 10 of the actual best cards because we don't really know yet, unfortunately. But what we do know is what looks good, what we expect to be good, and what we're excited to be playing with. Shout out to all the lovely folks over on the Facebook group for joining in with my poll here. It helped out very much indeed. So a quick honourable mention, the character I really wanted to put on but couldn't, Fangry. Now, I like Fangry, but I like all these characters. Now, one quick note before we get going, I'm not including heads. Heads I don't really see as a character in their own right a lot of the time. They are there to add bold if you need it, add tough if you need it, etc. So we're focusing on bodies and non-Titan Masters. Sorry if that upsets anyone. So Fangry then, if you're in body mode and defending against an enemy with fewer stars, you got tough 2. If you're in Mott mode and attacking an enemy with more stars, you get bold 2. So you hit harder against big dudes and you help yourself out and defend a bit more against little dudes. And yes, I know that this could be a little bit awkward. Your opponent could try and play around and stop you gaining the advantage. But you know what? You could do that too, ladies and gentlemen. You could do that too. Plus 411-2 on a 6-star character is pretty good stats. And you're a melee character, so you can add in even more bold and tough using stuff like body armor or power sword. And what we have here is just a really powerful, good character that, well, it can smash big dudes and survive against little dudes. Cool. Coming in at number 10, and this didn't do very well on the poll, only one person voted for it. It was me. So let's call it more of a personal choice. It's Skullsmasher. I like Skullsmasher. I like all of them. I should probably stop saying that. It's an 11-star character with all right stats. I like the attack of 6. I like the health of 14. I don't like the defense. But when an enemy with fewer stars than this becomes tapped, you do 1 damage to that enemy. When an enemy with more stars than this becomes tapped, you do 1 damage to this. Okay. So sure, you can be punished by your opponent's big characters tapping, but firstly, play a really expensive head to put you up to a 15-star character. Secondly, if you're really worried and your opponent's got a bigger character that they might be tapping, stay in alt mode. Other than that, your opponent's tapping their characters, and every time they do, they take a damage. That's good cheeky damage. As for alt mode, when you're attacking an Autobot, you get Pierce free. Yes, I know that not everyone plays Autobots, but you know what? They see more play than Decepticons, and Pierce free is pretty gosh darn good. I think Skullsmasher could be a really interesting character. Speaking of interesting, in at number 9, we've got Tidal Wave. Tidal Wave is a very, well, it's a combiner. An actual combiner, but it is a combiner that is being given away as a pre-release promo, which is kind of ridiculous. Now, we've got a 3-part combiner here, and, well, basically the battleship is fine. It's got stealth, and when your second character is KO'd this game, and you had the aircraft carrier and the transport on your starting team, you combine, which is quite nice. But if we have a look at the transport and the aircraft carrier, they actually have other stuff going on. So the aircraft carrier starts the game with a plane or helicopter under it with 4 stars or fewer, and when it attacks or combines or is KO'd, you deploy the character under it, and you get an extra attack this turn with the deployed character. Similarly, the transport starts the game with a car, truck or tank with 4 stars or fewer under it, and when it attacks, combines or is KO'd, you deploy the character from under this to the battlefield in alt mode, and you get an extra attack if it happens while you're attacking. So it turns your 3-wide deck into a 5-wide deck and gives you 2 extra attacks. Now, the actual combination here is extremely awkward. You only combine if the battleship is your final character remaining. You have to have 2 characters KO'd, and then this still on the field. Your opponent is going to be going after the battleship, but if you can make it work, this could be an awful lot of fun. If you do manage to combine, well, you just tap an enemy. It's not a great combiner. The attack of 7 is high, admittedly. The health of 21 is, well, it's just the 3 of them added up. It's not stunning. And the only skill it has is when it combines, you tap an enemy. But you know what? That might work, ladies and gentlemen. That might work anyway. Coming in at number 8, we've got Horri-bull. I mean, it deserves a spot on the list for the pun alone. What we've got here is a beast, and we need more love for beasts, quite frankly. So we got a 6-star character, which is nice and cheap, but remember, you will need to go and pop a head on it. Stats are pretty bad, but it's a 6-star character. But when you play a black icon card and you're in bot mode or body mode, you do 1 damage to an enemy and 1 damage to this. But then when you flip to alt mode, you move 1 damage counter from this to an enemy, which means that you're potentially doing 2 damage to an enemy. That's good. That makes me pretty gosh darn happy. Plus, of course, if you've just got damage on you from elsewhere, you can flip and move it over, so I'm kind of alright with this. Coming in at number 7, we've got Fortress MAximus. Now, Fortress MAximus is another one of these that gets kind of awkward. You see, it starts off as Fortress MAximus. It's a 14-star character, which is a lot. But then again, you got 15 health and 8 attack, so that's quite nice. And in bot mode, when you attack and flip at least 1 orange and 1 black icon, you do 2 damage to each enemy, and then you flip to alt mode. Sounds pretty good. And in alt mode, when you defend and flip at least 1 white, 1 blue icon, you do 1 damage to the attacker. So in theory here, you're chucking out cheeky damage in both bot mode and in alt mode. And you're flipping around without having to use your flip for the turn. That sounds pretty good. But you have to start the game with Cerebros on as the head, which is a 7-star head. And then you've got to actually have a head on this as well. And then that head will deploy as your final character. So you end up as this weird pseudo 3-wide team. Now, it initially gives Bold 1 and Tough 1. And then when it comes out as a character, you've got Bold 1 and Tough 1. But if you flip at least 1 white, 1 orange, 1 black, and 1 blue pip, you may play an upgrade from your scrap pile onto this, bearing in mind they are the 4 pips you're looking for when you're Fortress MAximus. And you got an attack of 6. Low health, low defense, but attack of 6 is quite nice. And the extra upgrade as well. I mean, it's going to be something like Force Field to keep you alive, really, isn't it? And then, of course, you've got the head of your choice coming down afterwards as well. It is a little bit ridiculous and complicated and confusing, and I love it. Coming in at number 6, we've got Windsweeper. Windsweeper comes along as a 10-star character, one of the secret rares from the set, and the stats are not stunning if I'm honest with you. Attack of 5 is alright, health of 15 is alright, stats here aren't great. But when one of your other characters attacks and you're in bot mode, you may move 1 damage counter from that character to this character. Why would you want to do that? Because when you attack in alt mode, if you had at least 2 planes on your starting team, you move 2 damage counters from this to the defender. Although even if you didn't, you still get to move 1 damage counter from this to the defender, which is quite good. But then, of course, that's not all we've got here, because it's got its own stratagem as well, saturation bombing. Once per game, when you flip your Windsweeper air defense to alt mode, and he has a number of damage counters equal to or greater than the number of enemies on the battlefield, move 1 damage counter from him to each enemy. So we've actually got even more here. It's not just moving damage counters with your alt mode skill, you're also doing it with a stratagem as well. That sounds pretty good to me. In at number 5, we've got Nightracer, another of the secret rares from the set, incidentally. Now, this is a 5-star character, and I think this is the part of the video where we're starting to get to potentially really, really good cards. Now, Nightracer comes in as a 5 cost with, I mean, I'll be honest with you, right? 3 or 4, 11, 1 or 2 for a 5 cost ain't bad. In bot mode, while you have a face down or face up secret action, each of your characters has bold 1. And in alt mode, while you have a face down or face up secret action, each of your characters has tough 1. So it can basically give all of your characters bold or tough. There are a number of other characters that really revolve around secret actions. I did a whole thing in the Nightracer video. I'll link videos about all these characters in the description. But the point here is that we are looking at a very cheap character that can help out all of your characters. That sounds pretty good to me. Oh yeah, and Nightracer actually also has a stratagem, Stealth Mission. Gives you up to 2 extra stars of secret actions to help you out with all of your, well, secret actions. Although remember, it costs a star, so it only really net gives you an extra 1 star. Coming in at number 4, we've got Bludgeon. Now, Bludgeon comes in as an 11-star character, which is moderately high. Stats are fine. I do like the attack of 6 in bot mode, and the health of 13 is fine. And to be fair, I do like the free defense in alt mode. Nothing stunning for an 11-star, though. In alt mode, you've got both Pierce 1 and Tough 1, and you're a tank. So if you want to play defensive piercing decks, great news. And in bot mode, whenever an enemy takes non-attack damage, it gets -1 defense until end of turn, although the defense cannot go below 0. So the theory here is, of course, that you do a whole bunch of cheeky damage, drop their defense down to 0, and then start absolutely smashing. The good news is we've got our own stratagem here as well, Metallicato Stance. And Metallicato Stance comes in as 1 star again. And when it attacks and you don't flip a battle card with more than 1 icon, you get to put a card you flipped into your hand after the battle. So one way to play this very nicely is to just play a lot of mono icon cards, and then every time you attack, you get an extra card, which sounds good. But we've also got the action card Master of Metallicato, which has an orange, a black, and a blue icon, though the orange only really counts for specialists, the black for ranged, and the blue for melee characters. But it's an action card that lets you choose one of your characters, and when it attacks and you flip battle cards, it gets +1 attack until end of turn for each different colour flipped. And yes, I know that goes against the stratagem that wants mono colours, but you know what? Just gives you different ways to play the character. Are you going cheeky damage? Are you going boosting attack? Are you going extra cards in your hand? There are a bunch of options. That puts it high up on my list of most exciting characters. In at number 3, we've got Brawn. And I really wanted to put Brawn higher. I did. But I couldn't do it. The top 2 are too good. Now, Brawn is another 5-star character. We got 2 really good 5-star characters in the set. And it's a melee character, and I've always been a fan of those. Stats are fine, not that great, but it's a 5-star. In bot mode, when you defend against an enemy with more stars than you, and you're a 5-star, that's going to be most of them, and you flip battle cards, you get +1 defense until end of battle for each different colour among icons you flip. Bearing in mind, Master Metallicato gives you +1 attack for each different colour icon you flip. Shall we say these cards make good bedfellows? And then in alt mode, when you attack an enemy with more stars than you and you flip battle cards, you get Pierce 1 until end of battle for each different colour icon that you flip. So suffice to say, you're going to be wanting to play a rainbow deck with Brawn. Oh yeah. And you've got your own stratagem here as well, just in case we weren't seeing enough lovely advantages. Resilience. When your Brawn Demolitions defends, he gets +1 defense for each bowl the attacker has. So if the attacker gets bold 4, you get +4 defense, which is ridiculous. That's going to be really hard to take down Brawn here, because every time you try and get more bold, Brawn gets harder to KO. Yeah, for a 5-star character, 6 if you use a stratagem, this is a bit nuts. In at number 2, we've got PERCEPTOR. The one that was actually the card designed by Daniel Arnold by virtue of him winning the Energon Invitational. Now, it's an 8-star character, which isn't that expensive. Stats are slightly lower than we'd like on an 8 cost, but nothing to be too worried about. In bot mode, you get +1 attack for each card under him, and it's stamped with 2019 Energon Invitational champion Dan Arnold, which is pretty cool. Wait, cards under him? When you flip to alt mode, you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, and your opponent separates them into 2 piles. You put one pile into your hand, and another under this face down, which brings in such redonkulous mind games. You can get a pile of good cards, and your opponent's going to want to put them under PERCEPTOR so you don't have access to them, but then that's going to bolster your attack. Or you take a pile of bad cards, and your opponent goes, ha ha ha, I'm going to let you put them all into your hand. Those cards aren't that good, but you still get a card advantage, and they shouldn't be that bad, because let's face it, you built the deck. So my point here is, it's going to force your opponent into awkward situations, it's going to create mind games, it's going to raise a skill cap, which makes me very happy, and at the end of the day, it's a weird new mechanic, which I know we've seen in Magic the Gathering, but we haven't seen in Transformers, and that makes me delighted. Plus, you could get up to a really beefy level of attack here. But in at number 1, we've got Sky Shadow. Sky Shadow is a very weird character that is both a combiner and a Titan Master. Yeah, why choose one? Now, Sky Shadow itself has got the plane and the tank. They're both 7-star characters. They've both got 4-10-2 as stats, which is fine. And the plane's got bold 2, the tank's got tough 2. It's not looking terribly exciting as it goes. But we do have the stratagem card Sky Shadow Sync. When your tank or plane is KO'd and you have Ominous outside of the game means it does not count towards your star total, because it's outside of the game. You combine them into Sky Shadow Elite Warrior with Ominous in head mode. Oh, so you're basically getting an extra head without having to pay for it, which is nice, and it gives you PS4, but it does mean that you don't get a choice as to head. It's got to be this. You know what? I'm kind of alright with that. You're giving me a free head, so that sounds alright to me. When you are combined, you have both bold 2 and tough 2. Attack of 8 as well is pretty nuts. And when you combine, you get to do free cheeky damage to an Autobot. And this is why we get from a fairly drab-looking plane and a fairly drab-looking tank to the most exciting / best character in the set. Because actually you end up combining, getting a free head and becoming a really nice combiner. And in total, right, you're only paying 15 stars. You've still got 10 to play around with. But you end up with a combiner that's got 8 attack, PS4, bold 2, tough 2, and is doing free damage to an Autobot. I cannot promise you this is going to be an amazing card, but I can promise you it is one that looks good and that a lot of people are going to try and make work, because there is potential coming out of the wazoo. So that's what I think, ladies and gentlemen, but I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section. Give me your own top 10 list, but remember my rule. If you're going to move one up, you got to move one down. If you're going to put something on the list, you got to take something off the list, etc. Go nuts, be nice, and give me a full top 10. I'd like that. Go nuts, be nice, and then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk Transformers and a whole bunch of other games. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get weekly bonus podcasts, all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.